Hey everyone, my name is Paul and you're watching Defiant Films, and today we're going to answer the question, is the Ursa Mini Pro G1 relevant in 2024? So basically, thanks to a good friend of mine, I got my hands on an Ursa Mini Pro G1, and since I started using it, I've been questioning myself that why isn't this camera being talked about more than it actually is? If you look at the used market, because you can't buy this camera new anymore, it's been replaced by the G2, but if you look at this camera used, it's really cheap, like $1,000 basically, and looking at Sony cameras, even the mirrorless ones, it's double that. And sure, you get autofocus and everything, but this is still a proper Super 35 cinema camera with very good ergonomics, and you don't need to rig it as much as you do with a mirrorless camera. And I've been shooting with this every day since I got my hands on it, and I absolutely love it. And one of the things I love the most is, first of all, I've got the SSD recorder on the back of it, so I just record to an SSD and pop that into a dock in my computer and away I go. But I also do have CFast 2 cards, and they are expensive, so I can understand why people are a bit hesitant to use cameras that have that. But you can also shoot on SD cards with this. Mind you, it has to be fast, but it still works, and it's a lot cheaper than CFast 2. Another thing that I've really missed since I sold my Pocket 4K is Blackmagic RAW. And if you're thinking about getting an Ursa Mini OG one, like the standard 4.6K or a Ursa Mini Pro G1, get the Pro version, because the standard 4.6K version does not get Blackmagic RAW. They are stuck at Cinema DNG, which is uncompressed RAW. Basically, you can do 4:1 compression, I think, but the file sizes are huge and you don't get one file. It's a collection of DNG files, which are still images, and they are put in one directory, and it's a bit more of a hassle to work with. Blackmagic RAW gives you a BRAW file with everything embedded, and working with Blackmagic RAW in DaVinci Resolve, which is my editor of choice anyway, it's such a dream. It plays butter smooth, and mind you, I've got a pretty decent computer, but still, you can work on Blackmagic RAW on a laptop. I've done that before. And like, yes, it's compressed RAW, but I'm shooting this in 8:1 compression. You can go all the way down to 12:1 compression. And unless you're pixel peeping and shooting something for a feature project or a more serious indie project, you can't even tell the difference. And like, I remember shooting short films on my Pocket 4K, and I never went above like 4:1 compression, or whatever the options are. Even at 8:1 compression, the image quality is mind-blowing compared to most mirrorless and stuff like that. So yes, this is an APS-C-ish sensor. It's a little larger than that, so it's a crop sensor. But yeah, who cares? The image you get out of it is amazing. And if you pair it with decent glass, like I'm using this series, which is the Samyang first generation Cine DS lenses for Canon EF, because this is an EF mount, and even they produce amazing image. I'm shooting this on the Samyang 50 at t1.5, and it's neutral and you have plenty of latitude to work with. The thing you have to keep in mind with this camera is it's not a low light camera. Yes, you can shoot in low light if you light the stuff that you really want to see, but if you let the shadows fall down towards 0 IRE, yeah, you're gonna get noise. But that's the case with most cameras anyway. And if you're using a camera like this, then you're probably gonna light your scenes. So to me, that's not a problem. This camera is made specifically to shoot films with. It's not a portable camera by any means, especially not when you put some stuff on it. Like, I've got V-mount battery mount, the SSD recorder, I've got a monitor up top, I've got a wireless follow focus, which is this, the Tilta Nucleus Nano, which is amazing, by the way, and it's why I can do this. I shouldn't have done that. Okay, there we go, I'm in focus. And I've also got a DJI Raven Eye for a wireless transmission for video over Wi-Fi. Yes, it's not proper wireless video, but if you use an iPad and have a look at it, the latency is really good. Good enough for a small budget shoot where you need a focus puller. So that's all I want. The dynamic range of the sensor is more than good enough for me. And for most people, being used to a mirrorless camera where it tops out at around usable 10.5 stops, you can push this camera up to 12 usable. And if you spend some time with denoising and everything and being thorough, you can probably push it up to 13. Blackmagic themselves claim 15 stops or so, and yes, you can get 15 stops-ish out of it, but that'll be noisy and not very pleasant to look at. But that's the case with every camera. So when it comes to the differences between the G1 and the G2 has higher frame rates. You can do 4.6K in 120 FPS, whereas the G1 is topped out at 60. You can do 120 in 2K on the G1, and I think you can do 240 in 2K on the G2. I never shoot slow motion anyway, so I don't mind that at all. I think that the G2 has a slightly faster sensor readout, but don't quote me on that. But even the G1 is definitely good enough. Yes, you get rolling shutter if you wave your camera back and forth. I've never understood those tests anyway. If you are waving your camera back and forth with vertical lines in your image, you are, I don't know what you're doing. But for normal use, for handheld, you can barely tell there's rolling shutter. And besides, there are really good ways to fix that in post nowadays. Another difference is that even though the G1 has a USB Type-C port, you're not able to record to an SSD. Whereas with the G2, you can record straight to an SSD using Type-C. But if you have the SSD recorder on the back, that doesn't matter anyway. Other great features with the Ursa Mini Pro, and obviously the original Ursa Mini as well, audio connections. You get full-size XLRs, 2 of them, with great preamps. I'm usually running the audio through the XLR ports to an NTG4 from Rode on a stand somewhere, but I was too lazy to rig that up today, so I'm using my Rode Wireless Pros. And you can feed those into the Ursa Mini Pro if you want to. You just need to get a 3.5mm to an XLR adapter. Another thing that I really love about Blackmagic cameras is the OS and the menu system. It is by far, there isn't even any competition as to who makes the best menus and the best OS for a camera. It is Blackmagic. It is incredibly quick and easy to use. It's like a couple of taps on the screen, you get everything you need right there, right in front of you. I wish more camera manufacturers would have a look at Blackmagic menus and like realize that, oh, this is how it's supposed to be done. So what are the cons of this camera? Well, it kind of chews through batteries. Not if you run it just the camera, then it's pretty decent. But when you start slapping on things like an external monitor, or like follow focus and everything like that, and I also have an SDI to an HDMI converter because my monitor doesn't have SDI. More on that maybe in another video. The batteries do drain quite quickly, but keep in mind I only use 95 watt-hour batteries, like the small micro ones or mini V mounts. If you get a bigger one, like 150, 200, even 300 watt-hour battery, that's basically you're set for an entire day's worth of shooting. And the second con of this camera is you can't put it on a gimbal. At least not consumer grade gimbals. I've got a DJI RS2 and there is no way in hell that this camera would even balance without a lens on it. So I guess that's a con. And some would argue that the heavy weight of a camera like this is also a con. I would say no, it's not. And that brings us to maybe con number 3. It doesn't have inbuilt stabilization in it like a Sony camera does. IBIS is really good if you're vlogging, like the A7IV. If I vlog, I turn it on to active mode and off I go. But when I'm shooting a film or a short film or project, I want to have complete control of the image. I don't want some sort of stabilization to make motions jerky, because that's something that can happen quite often. Even worse, if you get warpy corners like active state does with certain lenses, then that's not even usable to me. For vlogging, yes, fine. But this is not a vlogging camera. This is a cinema camera. And I don't know, I can't understand why it's not talked about more in 2024. Because it's a bargain. You get so much for the money. Oh, and I've also forgot, you get built-in NDs. I have never used a camera with built-in NDs before. So I've always had filters and step-up rings and everything for my lenses. It is a game changer. And whenever I use my A7IV now, it's a pain in the ass to like screw on that filter and make sure. With this, you just turn a knob and oh, good exposure. So if you've never used built-in NDs before, they are, oh, I will never be able to go back to a proper camera without built-in NDs. So, long story short, to answer the question, is the Blackmagic Ursa Mini Pro G1 still relevant and worth it in 2024? I would say yes, it very much is. With a couple of caveats. If you're looking for a low-light camera, no, look somewhere else. If you're looking for a discreet, portable camera, yeah, this is not it. But if you're looking for a camera that is cheap, can give you great images with an amazing codec that's easy to work with and plenty of dynamic range, and that doesn't break the bank, yeah, I would say this is the camera to go for, because in this price range, if you shop around in the used market, you can definitely get this for around $1,000. There's no camera in that price range that can even get close to this. And I don't understand why more people don't look at this and say, oh, that's an amazing bargain. But hey, that's just my 2 cents. So, what do you think about this camera? Let me know down in the comments. And if you liked the video, hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, which most of my viewers are not, please do. It helps me quite a lot. So, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.